This may be one of the hardest truths to accept about your diet after 60. John, 68, believed he was eating healthy. Every evening, he stuck to skinless chicken breast, just like his doctor recommended. But then, a sudden stroke took his life. After 60, your health is your most valuable asset, and it's heartbreaking when that health is put at risk by foods we've been told are safe. This video will uncover 10 foods that may quietly raise your risk of stroke, counted down from number 10 to number 1. The biggest shock comes at the top of the list, where I'll reveal why that seemingly healthy piece of chicken breast could be a silent threat on your plate. Once we've identified the dangers, I'll also share 5 nutrient-rich meats scientifically shown to help protect your brain and lower stroke risk, so you can build a smarter, safer meal plan going forward. Number 10. Smoked and cured meats. Those thin slices of pastrami on a sandwich, the salami on a cheese platter, or the cured ham for the holidays. They can seem like a harmless part of tradition and convenience. But hiding behind that savory flavor is a sworn enemy of your vascular health: sodium. While our bodies need a little sodium to function, the amount packed into these cured meats is overwhelming. Think of your blood vessels as the plumbing in your house. Excess sodium forces your body to hold on to water, dramatically increasing the volume and pressure of blood flowing through those pipes. This relentless pressure, known as high blood pressure, weakens and damages the delicate artery walls over time, especially those in your brain. Each bite of cured meat is like tightening the pressure valve a little more, pushing your system ever closer to a breaking point. Number 9. Ribeye steaks and heavily marbled red meats. There's nothing quite like the sight of a juicy ribeye steak with its beautiful ribbons of white fat. But that marbling, the very thing that gives it that incredible flavor, is the source of a silent, dangerous process called atherosclerosis. These cuts are loaded with saturated fat, the type of fat that raises the level of LDL, bad cholesterol, in your blood. This cholesterol acts like a thick sludge, slowly building up and hardening inside your artery walls, forming plaques. Over time, these plaques narrow the crucial pathways, restricting the flow of oxygen-rich blood to the brain. This is a ticking time bomb for an ischemic stroke. A plaque can rupture, forming a clot and blocking an artery completely. That delicious steak might be a satisfying meal, but the price could be the health of your very own lifelines.
Number 8. High-fat ground beef. The humble hamburger, a comforting meatloaf, or a hearty bowl of chili, all are American staples, and they often start with ground beef. But when we choose a high-fat version, like 70-30 or 80-20, we're getting more than just saturated fat. Beef from grain-fed cattle contains a very high ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, an imbalance that fuels system-wide inflammation. Think of this inflammation as a low-grade fire smoldering silently throughout your body. This fire constantly irritates and damages the delicate lining of your blood vessels, making them stickier and more prone to forming plaques and clots. It creates an internal environment where your blood vessels are under constant assault. While a burger might seem simple, regular consumption of this type of beef is quietly adding fuel to that inflammatory fire, setting the stage for a future cerebrovascular event. Number 7. Hot dogs. The hot dog is an American cultural icon. It brings to mind summer baseball games, family cookouts, and a quick, easy meal. But beneath that simple exterior lies a much more complex and troubling reality. A hot dog isn't just meat. It's a highly engineered product, a chemical cocktail designed for long shelf life and low cost. The primary culprits here are compounds called nitrates and nitrites, which are used as preservatives and to maintain that appealing pink color. When heated or exposed to stomach acid, these chemicals can turn into nitrosamines. These compounds are known to cause damage to the endothelium, the delicate, sensitive inner lining of our blood vessels. This lining plays a critical role in regulating blood pressure and preventing clots. When it's damaged, it becomes stiff and inflamed, like a smooth road turning into a rough, potholed surface that easily traps plaque. Every hot dog you eat is a chemical assault on the very integrity of your vascular system. Number 6. Bacon. Few smells are as evocative and tempting as bacon sizzling in a pan in the morning. It's a small pleasure, a cherished part of the traditional American breakfast. But that very appeal masks a double danger. Bacon is a perfect trap, combining two of the most potent risk factors for cardiovascular health: saturated fat and an enormous amount of sodium. Just a few thin, crispy strips can contain nearly a third of your entire recommended daily intake of sodium. This concentrated salt load causes an abrupt and intense spike in your blood pressure. At the same time, the high saturated content provides the raw material for your body to produce more of the artery-clogging LDL cholesterol we've discussed. It's a two-pronged attack. On one hand, it increases the pressure on your blood vessels, and on the other, it provides the material to clog them. That tempting sizzle is, in reality, the sound of your cardiovascular system being put under serious strain.
Number 5. Canned meats. Those cans of Spam, Vienna sausages, or deviled ham are a legacy from an era when convenience and a long shelf life were top priorities. They helped generations get through tough times and still lurk in many pantries today as a quick fix. However, the very process that keeps these products stable on a shelf for years concentrates nearly every dangerous factor we've identified. Think of them as a time capsule of cardiovascular risk. They are loaded with astonishing amounts of sodium to prevent spoilage. They are often made from the lowest quality cuts of meat and fat, and they are filled with the same nitrate-based preservatives. To make matters worse, some studies suggest the plastic linings of many cans can contain BPA, bisphenol A, an industrial chemical that has been linked to increased blood pressure. The product's long shelf life may come at a steep price, potentially shortening your own healthy lifespan. Number 4. Fried chicken, especially from fast food chains. That crispy, golden brown crust and the juicy meat inside, fried chicken is a favorite indulgence, a symbol of comfort and community. But the process that turns a simple piece of chicken into this treat launches a biochemical assault on your body. When deep fried at extremely high temperatures, especially in the industrial oils that are reused for hours in fast food restaurants, that oil is transformed. It's no longer just a fat. It becomes a toxic, inflammatory glue ready to stick to the walls of your arteries. Even worse, this high-heat frying process creates harmful compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs essentially stiffen and caramelize the proteins in your body. They make the collagen in your skin, joints, and most importantly, your blood vessels hard and brittle. Flexible, resilient arteries become rigid and fragile, creating the perfect conditions for high blood pressure and for tiny cracks to form where clots can begin. Number 3. Deli meats and ham. Their convenience is undeniable. A few slices of deli meat, a little cheese, slapped between two pieces of bread, and you have lunch in under 2 minutes. It's a habit that is deeply ingrained in our culture. But this is where we must stop and ask a critical question. Is that convenient sandwich worth the health of your brain? Every slice of lunch meat, whether it's ham, turkey, or roast beef, is processed with a heavy load of sodium and nitrate preservatives to extend its shelf life. As we now know, this combination is a direct recipe for high blood pressure and blood vessel damage. Furthermore, many deli meats contain other additives like phosphates, which can put stress on the kidneys, the very organs that play a crucial role in regulating blood pressure. Eating them daily is like dripping a tiny bit of corrosive acid into your home's plumbing. You don't see it at first, but the damage is silently accumulating until one day the system fails completely. Number 2. Pork sausage. Those plump, round sausage patties, or the links served alongside eggs and toast, are a classic breakfast image. But inside each of those seemingly innocent pieces of meat is a time bomb perfectly engineered to harm your cardiovascular system. It is a combination of a dangerous triple threat attack. 1. Sodium, a massive salt load that skyrockets your blood pressure first thing in the morning. 2. Saturated fat, providing the raw materials to build the plaques that clog your arteries. 3. nitrates, the chemical preservatives that directly damage the delicate lining of your blood vessels. No other food combines these top 3 risk factors so effectively and so enticingly. It isn't just a breakfast item, it's a coordinated assault on your health. Starting your day with this is like deliberately placing a roadblock on the path to a healthy old age. Number 1. Skinless, factory-farmed chicken breast. And now we've arrived at number 1. I have to warn you, this is the hardest one to accept because it goes against everything we've been taught for the last 50 years. The biggest danger on this list, the single food playing the most significant role in your stroke risk after 60, is the very meat most of us believe is the healthiest, the skinless, factory-farmed chicken breast. I can feel your skepticism. How can that be? Doctors, nutritionists, everyone says it's the gold standard. Exactly. And that is the most insidious part of this deception. The problem isn't the chicken itself, but what industrial agriculture has done to it, and how our aging bodies react to an unnaturally super lean protein. First, it strips away protective fats. Your brain is an organ made mostly of fat, and it requires healthy fats to function. More importantly, your body needs dietary fat to absorb the critical fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K. These vitamins are powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant warriors that keep your arteries flexible and inflammation-free. When you eat a protein that is virtually fat-free, you are crippling your body's ability to absorb these life-saving nutrients. Second, it's an antibiotic cocktail. Chickens raised in massive factory farms are fed an unnatural diet of GMO corn and soy, and are often given a steady dose of antibiotics to prevent disease and promote rapid growth. Residues of these compounds can remain in the meat. For an older adult with a more sensitive immune system, regular consumption can disrupt the gut microbiome and promote low-grade systemic inflammation, that same smoldering fire we've discussed, weakening blood vessels throughout the body. Finally, it can cause a sharp blood sugar spike. The problem isn't with protein itself. The issue arises when we eat a large amount of pure, easily absorbed protein without any fat or fiber to slow down digestion. This sends a shock to your system, forcing the pancreas to react by releasing a powerful surge of insulin. This creates a sharp, sudden swing in your hormones that, over time, can put significant stress on your entire metabolic system. For decades, we've been told a simple story. Fat is the enemy and lean protein is the hero. But that story was dangerously incomplete. It created an unnatural product, raised in an unhealthy system that robs our bodies of the very nutrients we need to protect ourselves. The hard truth is, the safest food in your diet may be the biggest threat of all. But this isn't the end of the story. We're about to shift from avoiding danger to actively building health, starting with 5 meats that can genuinely protect and nourish your vascular system. Number 5. Wild-caught salmon. Let's begin with the champion we all know and respect. Wild-caught salmon, especially varieties like sockeye or coho, is considered the gold standard for good reason. It is loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. These essential fatty acids are powerful guardians of your cardiovascular system. They work on multiple fronts, helping to lower blood pressure, slowing the development of plaque in your arteries, and reducing the likelihood of blood clots. Think of omega-3s as a professional maintenance crew for your blood vessels, keeping them smooth, flexible, and clear. Adding 2 servings of wild-caught salmon to your weekly diet is one of the simplest and most powerful steps you can take. Consider it the cornerstone upon which we will build the fortress that protects your brain. Number 4. Grass-fed lamb. If salmon is the gold standard, then grass-fed lamb is the precious silver, an elegant and equally potent choice that many people overlook. What makes grass-fed lamb so special is its unique nutritional profile, which is a direct result of the animal's natural diet on pasture. Like salmon, it's an excellent source of omega-3s, but it also contains another secret weapon, conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA. CLA is a type of healthy fat that has been shown in numerous studies to have powerful anti-inflammatory properties.
It helps to extinguish that smoldering inflammatory fire in the body we discussed, which is the precursor to so many chronic diseases, including stroke. Choosing grass-fed lamb over conventional beef isn't just a change in flavor, it's a strategic upgrade in your fight against inflammation.
Number 3. Pasture-raised duck, the gourmet's secret. This next choice might surprise a few people, as duck isn't often mentioned in conversations about heart-healthy foods. However, when raised on pasture, duck becomes a surprisingly nutritious option. The secret lies in its fat composition. Unlike the saturated fat found in many other meats, duck fat is uniquely rich in monounsaturated fat, the same heart-healthy type found in olive oil. Monounsaturated fats have been shown to help maintain a healthy cholesterol balance by helping to lower LDL, bad cholesterol levels, without harming HDL, good cholesterol. Duck meat is also a great source of iron and selenium, crucial minerals that help protect the body's cells from oxidative damage. Enjoying a properly roasted piece of duck, especially when it's been pasture-raised, can be a delicious and sophisticated way to support your cardiovascular health. Number 2. Sardines. Don't let their small size and humble packaging fool you. Inside every can of sardines is a tiny nutritional powerhouse, perfectly designed to protect your vascular health. They are loaded with the same brain-protecting omega-3 fatty acids as salmon, but what makes them truly unique is a powerful combination. When you eat sardines with their soft, edible bones, you are consuming a highly absorbable form of calcium. This mineral is not only critical for bone density, but is also essential for maintaining stable blood pressure and ensuring the smooth function of your circulatory system. To complete the perfect trio, sardines are one of the few natural food sources of vitamin D, a critical nutrient that helps your body absorb that very same calcium. Furthermore, because they are near the bottom of the food chain, sardines contain very little mercury compared to larger fish. They are an inexpensive, convenient, and incredibly effective way to support your entire circulatory system from the inside out. Number 1. Grass-fed beef liver, the ultimate brain fuel. And now we've arrived at the top spot on our list, with the bodyguard meat I promised you at the beginning. This is a forgotten secret of past generations, a food so powerful it's almost more like a medicine than a meal. The primary reason is its unparalleled concentration of specific B vitamins, especially B12, B6, and folate. These vitamins work as a team to control the levels of an inflammatory compound in your blood called homocysteine. Think of homocysteine as a corrosive toxin that scrapes and damages the delicate lining of your arteries, creating rough patches where dangerous blood clots are more likely to form. Beef liver provides the precise nutritional toolkit to neutralize this threat, keeping your arterial pathways smooth and clear. Furthermore, liver is one of nature's richest sources of coenzyme Q10, CoQ10. If your cells are tiny engines, CoQ10 is the spark plug that ignites them, providing the energy your heart needs to beat strongly and your brain needs to think clearly.
I know what many of you are thinking, but I can't stand the taste. You don't have to. The secret is to treat it like a supplement, not a main course. Ask your butcher to grind a small amount, just a quarter or half a pound, and freeze it. Then, every time you make meatballs, meatloaf, or bolognese sauce, just mix in a tablespoon or two. Its strong flavor will be completely hidden by the other ingredients, but its profound nutritional benefits will be delivered directly into your body. Be sure to watch our other videos on how to recognize the early warning signs of a stroke and how to prevent one.